welcome everyone to episode 4 of Today in the Scene. I'm Joe with Indie Arcade Wave, and this is my co-host Dylan from Galactic Battleground.
Hey, what's up?
Shout out to our sponsors, Can Arcade, everything arcade, music, and cannabis. This week we have this pleasure of speaking to Will, co-owner and operator of Spacebar Arcade. This week we'll be diving in a little bit deeper as to what it is to own an arcade, especially at this time, as well as kind of the growth of the indie arcade scene in these arcade bars. Thanks for joining us this week, Will.
Hey, thanks guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough road getting us in here, but I'm really glad it's finally working out. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about is, what is Spacebar Arcade? Where are you guys? What's your focus, and what sets you apart from everyone else?
All right, man. So we're in Boise, Idaho, downtown, right kind of in the center, the heart of downtown Boise. We're in the basement. And we kind of focus on being, since we are underground, we kind of focus on the underground, and we focus on the music scene, the arcade scene, clearly, the beer scene. We try and appeal to. We feel like everybody's got a little bit of nerd in them, and we try and appeal to all those things. So we curate the video games, the music. We've got comic books, the beer, all that. We think about kind of the aficionados, but we try and do it in a real low key way so that it's approachable for everyone to come in and check out. We like I said, we try and have that underground vibe,
Yeah, that's really cool. I know I was looking into your guys' place, and you have an indie game in there that I've never heard of. I'm forgetting what the name of that was. What was the name on that one?
Devout Tournament.
Devout Tournament.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that game? You said it was just like a couple local guys that made it, right?
Yeah, so we've got this college here, Boise State University, and we have a couple of guys who just graduated from computer science program there, and they put together a video game, and we finance that video game, so we're kind of in partnership with them. And it's a party game, I suppose. It's a fighting game. It's two opponents in a ring with one weapon that goes into the ring, and then you fight for the weapon, and then you can take out your opponent with the weapon or disarm your opponent and then take them out. And there's also obstacles that come up in the gameplay that will disarm you, and you're trying to fight for your god's supremacy. So they're just kind of getting into to the beginnings of that. We've got a couple of levels. They're hoping to gain 5 more levels eventually, and they've got a lot of little Easter eggs that they're working on. And I know that you guys probably have gone through the same thing with Galactic Battleground, just progressing and adding things and having fun with the experience of creating a game, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
much,
lots of it.
Cool. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right on. So vintage arcade games or modern arcade games? Can you tell me the pros and cons of having them? I mean, which ones you put out, which ones you take out?
Yeah, man, for sure. So when we started, I was just a hire there. I was their manager. I was the first hire, and my previous partners, who I eventually bought out, they're a little bit older than me, and they wanted a classic arcade. They just wanted that golden era, that early days, because that was their wheelhouse. And I had gone to Portland a lot in my 20s with my buddy Jeff, and we went to Ground Control quite a bit. And
Okay.
and he loved Ground Control. I liked arcades, just fine. I went to arcades as a kid, but it wasn't necessarily my wheelhouse. I am from the bar scene, so I kind of know that side of it. And the arcade thing kind of it appealed to me because my buddy Jeff, who I looked up to, who's a good friend of mine, he loved going to ground control. So I was like, well, when we opened one here in Boise, I was like, well, I think I could run a show, and be a part of that and make it cool. So we've really just kind of kept those golden era arcades on the floor because they're bangers and they're earners still, and we still get guys in that are in their 50s that are nostalgic for that stuff, and then you got kids who are coming in who are freshly 21 and never seen that stuff. They've only come up on home consoles or gaming on computers, so they are kind of like, whoa, what's this, and checking it out. So those are kind of been the mainstays on the floor. I want to start dabbling into some of the indie arcades because I think they're cool. I think that it's awesome that we've got a new generation of makers out there that are doing these things like you guys, and so I would love to see more of that interjected into our business, and then expose more people to the creativity that people are putting out there, because I think there's some really good stuff out there, as you guys have highlighted. So
yeah, totally. I mean, I agree. There's a ton of indie games, and I feel like with running the Instagram page, every time I post a new game that people haven't heard about, I get messages about another game. I'm finding them all over the place. I mean, I found a game in Chile. I found a game in Argentina. Some games that I definitely would not have been exposed to if the community hadn't reached out to me. I mean, I'm just sharing the stuff that I know about, and they're letting me know about other things. On that same vein, there is a little bit of news here about a game you guys had in there called Harambee Kong. Can you expand on what that was and how it came to be?
Yeah, for sure. So Harambe Kong was a video game that my partner in the business now, Zach Rowland, and his partner at the time in that venture, Tyler, created. And it was it was supposed to be kind of obviously a take on Donkey Kong, but a message. He was trying to put this thing together about how zoos were. It was his social take on how zoos were maybe not a place that contain animals, and so the whole idea was that you were Harambe in the cage, and food would drop into the cage, and then as levels progressed, there would be more and more children that would drop into the cage, and your objective was to get the food but avoid the children. And if you were to touch a child, then the zookeeper would come out and shoot you in the face.
Jesus Christ.
That's a really interesting way to kind of reskin it. It does make light of a rough situation, but I mean, it is something that needs to be exposed, that zoos aren't really what they should be.
It's a meme, dude. Seriously.
Right. So, I mean, it was, yeah, we got a little bit of bad press about it. It was a little bit controversial, but, I mean, we were just retelling a story, I felt like, and it was like kind of shedding light on how fucked up that was, that happened.
Right.
And that's kind of where that was our stance, was that was jacked up. So we got a little bit of press from that. It was the people that came into the bar, they didn't really see it that way. I don't feel like there was a couple of people that were kind of skeptical about it, but our response was, have you played Grand Theft Auto? Have you played some of these other super violent video games?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just a reflection of current events.
Right.
I don't think it's anything that should be taken out of context and labeled like as a bad thing.
The only thing that I could see it being bad is like the mother of the son,
Totally.
Like being like, what the fuck? Like, why is this, why is this on here?
Yeah.
But that's like the only indication I could see it. but it happened. It's like historic, it was
Right.
on video and shit. So I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
Do you guys still have that in the arcade, or is that somewhere else?
we don't. It's in storage right now. We just pulled it off because we were trying to, rotate games. That's what we do. We've got like
Right.
32 games in the bar. We're a small space, so again, like, got to get the earners on. And that one was kind of getting worn thin, so we took it off. But it's always, got the potential to come back on the floor. And we get some people that ask about it still. But yeah, our take too is just it's artwork, and artwork should, I feel like, get an emotion out of you, and that one seemed to get some emotion out of people, which was good. So
yeah, that is good. What advice would you give to new and old coin operators? I mean, like putting games on the floor and when to rotate, when not to rotate.
yeah, I think, we had some of the games that were nostalgic for the previous owners on the floor, and they weren't necessarily earners. Um, so but they were nostalgia. The guy really loved those games when they were in the
Yeah,
arcade that he was coming up when he was a kid. So he wanted to have them in there, and he also, I don't think, necessarily was looking at it from a business perspective. And that's, there's many different ways of doing this business. Like, there's another guy in town who has a big collection. He's called Grinkers is the name of the place, and he has like all these old schoolers out, like Billy Mitchell and Lonnie McDonald, and some of like the heavy hitters from the early days. Like, they come out and have this big thing called Grink Fest every year, and it's a big tournament. He's got probably one of the biggest collections on the west side of the country, and he's a collector, and he's not really in it for the money. So he's got everything, like anything and everything he's got out there. And it's a haven for some of these people that like are super nostalgic for the early days, and they want to go play some really obscure stuff. And it's super cool. But for us, we've got a small space, so it's got to be the heavy hitters that come on the floor, because you got to earn every penny, every quarter, and so they got to be good. They got to be what the people want. They got to be stuff that's approachable, that, a pedestrian person who on a Friday, Saturday night is coming in with their girlfriend, their boyfriend, wants to, have a beer and play a game, or, get together with a group of dudes, buy a pitcher of beer, play NBA Jam, those 4-player beat 'em ups are essential for sure. We've got consoles in the bar, so we've got like all the NES platforms, including the Switch, for people to play on 2 TVs, and that's like a huge hit. People like to just post up, grab a pitcher, sit down for an hour, play with their homies, play Mario Kart, play Smash, so that's been big. We do fight night, so we have the fighting game community come in and play.
smart, super smart.
So yeah,
Yeah,
we just try and reach out to that community. We were in the beginning trying to do like board game nights and stuff like that, but there's too many other places in town that are doing those kind of things, and those people are kind of like already locked into their their particular game spot where they want to play. So we're not a board game place, we're an arcade, so that kind of fell away. It's just really kind of like feeling it out, trying things, seeing what works, what doesn't, and then just continually to try and evolve the thing. So
gotcha. Awesome.
Have you guys tried like a D&D night? I know there was an arcade here in Northeast Minneapolis that was doing that, and we went and had an awesome time. They unfortunately closed down during all this, but it seemed like a big hit there.
we did an MTG night, and it was a casual thing. With our bar, we don't try and get too competitive. We want it to be more of like a chill, relaxed place. So we did like a casual night. But what we were finding with a lot of the Magic players was they had been out of the game for probably, they were in their late 20s, and they hadn't played since they were maybe in their teens, and so it was just it was a little bit hard to like get people back into playing, and then to play in a atmosphere like the bar. We got a few players, and then I've seen people just post up and like start playing D&D on their own. Like um, we haven't even like pushed an event, but we've just had like dudes roll through and post up and play. So that's been cool. But yeah, it's something that we'd definitely be into. So
So you've been talking a lot about other things that you have at the bar other than just arcade games.
mhm.
What do you guys have for like food and drinks? Do you guys do like local beer there, or
Yeah, so we do a lot of local beer because there's a ton of breweries in town. I mean, it's highly saturated in Boise with local breweries, and they're all real good too. So we try and like get a lot of local brews in to support our community here, and then we try and find the other good stuff that's out there that we can get. It's kind of up to our distributors to be able to supply us with good stuff. And luckily, there's some distributors who are, pushing their business forward and trying to find other good beers that are out there for us to introduce to our guests. As far as food goes, we have any downtown area vendor is allowed in, so we don't have food. We don't make food, but we allow outside food in. So if you want to order pizza, that's cool. If you want to order some Thai food, that's cool. We got a place right next to us that serves ramen, and they'll bring it over to you. So yeah, we try and play nice with everybody downtown.
can't really go back? Can't go
Yeah.
wrong with ramen and arcade games.
Do you
Right.
ever have food trucks? Like food trucks out there and stuff? Or
Since we're being right downtown, we have a parking issue. So like it's all street parking, and
gotcha.
and
Okay.
it's kind of with the city, it's kind of a pain to get a truck to be able to park up there. But we have done it before. We have had a couple of food trucks.
Okay.
So yeah.
Right on. So what's the hardest part about being a bar owner?
Just stuff like this, with the corona virus going on, shut down, and then we've had being in the basement. We've had a few floods,
Oh,
and
what?
yeah. So we had like one that was a couple of years ago. It was we've got geothermal water that runs through the downtown area, and we had a pipe burst, and water come into it was a city pipe that burst, and it came into the bar and flooded the bar, and so we had to shut down for a week to get people in there to get all the water damaged out, and then to rebuild our stage, and um, to do all the cleanup stuff. So just the unexpected, I think, is the hardest. But you start to kind of roll with the punches because it's always unexpected. So just being able to the hardest thing is to be able to have a short memory, be able to turn the page quickly, not dwell on things that are going wrong, and just like continue to push forward. So it's trial by fire, and it's important to keep doing those things. So
Yeah.
Keep all that stuff compartmentalized and just keep moving forward. If you can't control it, you can't control it.
for sure.
So we talked about indie games a little bit earlier on. What indie games have you guys been looking at that you're somewhat interested in?
Oh, Galactic Battleground for sure. We've talked a little bit about that. We'd love to
Yep.
have that down at the bar for sure. Um,
Yeah.
Bump and Shoot I've seen, and that looks pretty interesting. There's one that I liked, and you guys might know or probably know, and the name is escaping me now, but it's by the dudes that do Killer Queen. It's the motorcycle one.
Black
Oh,
Emperor.
Black Emperor. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty tight. But yeah, like I said, we're just kind of in the infancy of all that. So I haven't had a chance to explore much. But those are three off the top of my head that I'm into. I like those.
Right on.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm thinking from the floor of your arcade right now. What are your three favorite arcade games that you guys have out there?
Well, can I? I guess. Let's see. I'm a Galaga guy. Um, right now, Samurai Showdown in the Neo Geo
Okay.
cab.
Yep.
And then we got Windjammers in there too. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, Windjammers in
Windjammers.
there. Sweet.
I've
Yeah,
never played that game.
it's pretty tight. And then let's see what else. Uh, what do we have on the floor right now? I say,
It's always a tough question.
I know. Well, I'm trying to remember everything that's on the floor too. Moon Patrol. I like Moon Patrol.
Ooh, yeah. Moon Patrol is. I think that one's really underrated.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Super
Fun game.
underrated.
Have you guys seen that Intellivision is coming out with a new platform? Do you know
I have
Intellivision much?
not. No.
Okay, so early gaming console Intellivision, they've got a new console coming out called Amico Vision or Amico Intellivision, and it looks tight. And they've got a new version of Moon Patrol on it, and yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. It's I think it's gonna be cool.
Hmm.
We're gonna have it at the bar, so.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that one.
Sweet. Yeah.
So I think we're ready to wrap this up.
Okay.
Do you have anything that you want to say to anybody? This is self-promotion time. Shout out your social medias, everything like that.
Word, yeah. Check us out, spacebararcade.com. Instagram handle is Spacebar Arcade. Twitter, Spacebar Arcade. Everything is Spacebar Arcade on the social platform. The Arcade Underground, you can find us there too. Yeah, if you're in Boise, come check us out.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
We will.
Shout
Awesome.
out my homies Danny and Tori for letting me know about Spacebar Arcade. They actually moved out there recently and let me know that you guys were even around. So that's how I reached out to you.
Word, thanks,
I
you
will
guys.
be linking all the social media down below in the description here on YouTube. Thanks for joining us this week, man. It was awesome chatting with you.
Oh, yeah, great talking to you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
We'll do it
And
again
we will
soon.
be back. We will
Yeah,
be back
seriously.
next week with Knight Rider music. And we most definitely will speak again. Will.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Later.
Bye.
Peace.